Once upon a time there was a princess who was beautiful and fair, but cold and apathetic. One day the prince of a neighbouring kingdom, who had been courting the princess all his life, and loved her very much, returned home from a voyage to propose to the princess. But she thought herself above him, and declared him unworthy of her love. The prince sank into immeasurable and infinite grotto of sorrow. As darkness suffocated him, he became lost within it, and was bound to the form of a raven. The maiden thought she would be unmoved by this, but she laid it to heart daily, and thought she must save the prince, and went forth into the wide world to trace out the prince and set him free. She stood at the edge of her kingdom and threw herself into the frothing torrents below. She crossed vast oceans impossible in size, and filled with animals exotic in nature and in type. She took nothing with her but the ring with which the prince had proposed, a loaf of bread against hunger, a little pitcher of water against thirst, a little chair as a provision against weariness. She climbed mountains so tall that if one were to look from the base, it would be impossible to see the top. As they touched the clouds and scraped along the heavens, she went continually onwards, far, far to the very edge of the world. Then she came to the moon, but it was far too cold, and also awful and malicious. And when it saw the princess, it said, I smell the flesh of men." Hastily she fled and ran to the sun, but he was too hot and terrible, and devoured young maidens. But then she approached the stars, which were kind and good to her. But the morning star arose, and gave her the flesh of a calf, and said, If thou hast not that flesh, thou canst not open the glass door, and in the glass mountain is thy prince. The door was shut, and she thought she would take out the flesh, but when she undid the cloth, it was empty. She had lost the good star's present. What was she now to do? She wished to rescue her prince, and had no key to the glass mountain. Desperation overwhelmed her, and the good princess raised her arm to her mouth, bit deeply in her arm, put her flesh in the door, and succeeded in opening it. She heard whirring of wings, and saw her prince perched before her. She begged and pleaded with that prince to remember her, and his true self, and all that they mean to each other. But he was completely lost, and the princess learned his rejection and emptiness as she too fell into the suffocation of sorrow and despair. And they lived happily ever after. The end.